This video is presented by EA GameChangers. All that means is EA, please don't take down this vid because I allegedly ripped footage from the live stream. Yay! Before we start, a quick disclaimer. I will be referencing several spoilers from the entire Dragon Age series. This includes Dragon Age Inquisition, the Descent DLC, and Tevinter Nights. If you haven't gone through any of these, I highly suggest playing the games and reading the latest book, Tevinter Nights. Again, read Tevinter Nights, as I have been told will feature, and I quote, brand new areas and characters before they appear in the next BioWare game. Links to everything is in the description, and if you're okay with that, cool, let's continue. To the dismay of many, including myself, EA Play only featured 3 teasing scenes from the next Dragon Age for next-gen platforms. 3. A spooky tree, a creepy courtyard, and a whole lot of red. I'll reiterate that these scenes are still classified as works in progress, so it's completely possible that we won't see these specific scenes in Dragon Age. Instead, consider these scenes as part of a mood board. BioWare and EA releasing these 3 teases is more of setting the expectation of the world that we will be playing in the next game. On a high level, this is an example of the capabilities of their game in the latest version of Frostbite. Fantastical graphics, ray tracing, glowy HD visuals. Though to be frank, we won't see this in action well enough until we see a reveal that's legitimately in 1080p 60 frames, not already reprocessed by YouTube or Twitch. But that said, running back to the idea of a mood board, because these images are the first we've seen in the game, I think it's fair to say that the aesthetic they're going for is going to be uneasy, unsettling, bloody, dark, creepy. You know, your typical Tevinter affair. The snowy environment helps contrast the red scattered throughout all 3 scenes, calling back to the same vibes we got whenever we watched and played the old Awakening expansioning and the Broodmother plot, Branka and the Anvil of the Void, Warden recruit Friedel and the horrors of Tig Hormak. It's a resurgence of the Darkspawn Blight without the Archdemon. It's a resurgence of certain magics we haven't seen in some time. It's something we'll get to later. The dark deathiness of it all is unnerving to say the least, but also matches well to what we are expecting from the more northern Thedosian nations. Tevinter with all of its dark, magical, bougie lifestyle, Navarra with its obsession with death and the afterlife, and Tiva with its shadowy, stabby politics. The Inquisitor did stab a knife through Tevinter already, it kind of all makes sense. Before we continue dissecting these 3 scenes, I wanted to take the time to at least set a baseline to frame everything we're going to be talking about. I'm sure for most Dragon Age fans this will be very basic, but to make sure that we are all on the same page, based on the previous games, here are some things we know to be allegedly true. Blue lyrium is blood from a titan. The Darkspawn Blight only affects living things. Red lyrium is lyrium tainted with the Blight. And lastly, the Blight is filled with anger, singing a different song than normal lyrium. The most prominent thing here is the barren tree towering over the area, with glowing red lines pulsating on top of the trunk and roots. Let's get one thing out of the way. The tree is not romanceable. It's probably not romanceable in its current state. Okay, if you notice the trunk, you'll see the pulsating red lines sprawled out. Historically, most spirits and demons possess bodies of people, humans, elves, dwarves, Canari, etc. But not always. On occasions, spirits aren't interested in the difficulties of inhabiting a social being and will inhabit instead other organisms like animals or plants. In particular, spirits that inhabit trees are called Sylvans. Stated in Volume 1 of the World of Thedas, only rage demons become Sylvans. The demon will spend considerable time and effort twisting and molding the host to make it mobile. Now, I'm not saying that the next protagonist will go out of their way to bang some wood, but I find it important to reflect on something I mentioned before. The Darkspawn Blight affects living things, and the Blight itself is angry. If red lyrium were to spread unchecked throughout Thedas, which it already has because of Inquisition, and should spirits decide to, en masse, inhabit the landscape as they did when the veil was initially torn, it would be catastrophic to all people of Thedas, where half of them are in recovery and the other half are prepping for war. And judging by these 3 pictures, something's been festering beneath the surface for a long time. During Inquisition, we spent all of our time fixing the sky and handling our sexy bald elven god problems. But the Blight has been, and always will be, a threat.
I laugh at a world full of stupid humans who ignore the Blight's evil and abandon their vigilance to chase mortal goals. Remember, it is up to you to destroy the Blight. Pray not for someone else to destroy it. It will always nip at your heels.
Beyond the spooky tree and flying crows, several urns are spread out and around. The urns are so numerous that they continue to fade far into the looming background. Some of these urns are recognizable in Ferelden culture, while others have been found in the Fade, in Elven ruins, and Navaran context. I find the urn's placement around the corrupted tree to be more foreshadowing. For along the well-trodden path, you'll find many urns of the dead, locked still by time and snow. Along our journeys as the hero of Ferelden, the champion of Kirkwall, and the Inquisitor, we've seen so much death, and much more will come as we journey into the unknown ahead. Broken buildings, red lyrium, foggy marshes, fleshy sacks. Thanks to the moon, we know this is within the physical world. You can also see the tinge of yellow and green in the sky, a permanent scar from the events of Dragon Age Inquisition. To the right, you can also see a pervasive red glow coming from the fortress in the back, and the tendrils glowing on the center archway. The fog makes this courtyard look like a marsh, but during the zoom, you can tell the soil is wet, yet there is no water. Historically, BioWare has deliberately used fog in trailer reveals to blur details in a location. As far as the architecture is concerned, it's not Tevinter, it's not Orlesian, it's not Elven. Okay, well, it looks somewhat like the Temple of Sacred Ashes. On the other hand, it also looks like the Temple of Mythal. My thoughts? It's all inconsequential. It's more of a cinematic placeholder as far as we're concerned. What really matters, what's more alarming, is the spread of red lyrium and corruption spreading unchecked. And the big question, who's behind it? If you look to the sides, there are fleshy, translucent tumors that are being spread through vines or veins of organic material. It's too similar to the same meat bags we saw at the top of the Ferelden Circle in Dragon Age Origins. The nature of this corruption is unnatural, spreading across trees and walls and buildings. The red tendrils are closest to deep mushroom, a group of fungi that are often found in dark caves or in the deep roads. According to Volume 1 of the World of Thetis, the most common varieties of normal deep mushroom carry the blight, but cannot transmit it. Additionally, they often sprout near Illyrium veins, clearly red ones too. It's unnatural that the fungi is able to grow in this environment above ground, and seems to only thrive and perhaps benefit from accelerated growth and spread due to the blighted lyrium that has tainted it. The normal version of deep mushroom cannot transmit the blight, but this form might. If I had to guess, it seems exposure of the blight will be significantly easier in the next game, if this were to grow closer to civilization. And since red lyrium isn't easily destroyed, one must question what caused this area to be so damp and dark to permit the growth of this flora. Thanks to Vanancharal and Murnock on Twitter, they helped me rethink how damaging this red lyrium afflicted flora is in Thetis. More specifically, what if we did not have a reliable lyrium source in the next Dragon Age games? If more lyrium sources were tainted, or the supply was choked by demand, how would the world fare? The last 3 games have illustrated the supply and demand very well. On one side, you have mages and apostates running from chantry control, trying to gain enough power to defend themselves. On the other, you have Templars addicted to lyrium, struggling to find a way out of servitude to the chantry or the Carta. The Tevinter-Qunari War is already escalating, with both Tevinter cities Ventus and Carastes falling to the Qunari. If supplies were to run low and the source of blood runs too thin, why not use the easily accessible red lyrium growing on your doorstep?
The red lyrium is different, darker, daggers under the skin. It eats you inside until you're nothing. They hear a different song. The song behind the door old whispers want opened. They are dead and dark and done.
Red lyrium is still very powerful, and it's also just as caustic. But that doesn't stop the evil, nor the desperate. We'll leave this off for another day. Looking at the big picture, it's clear that these ruins were destroyed or abandoned for some time. How long will it take to get to civilization? How early or late are we into the world's next large-scale spread of the blight. The third and last scene featured during EA Play. Although a more boring but logical explanation, I find that this is likely a closer peek of the fortress we saw in the back of the second scene. I thought at first it was the Fade, but then I realized the windows aren't similar at all to the same keyhole ones of the raw Fade. Now normally I don't like to talk to folks while I'm doing analysis videos. I like going in fresh with no biases, describing what I see and follow. That said, I did stream my original reaction.
It's just the beginning.
We got a
of the things
tree!
we're working on.
We got a
There's
tree!
so much more to come.
And a lot of friendly folks came by not only on the stream but also Twitter, asking almost the same question. Is that a Titan heart? And to that I say, no, I don't think so. A few reasons why. One is because of its smaller size compared to the heart that we saw in the Descent DLC. There's no banana, but to estimate the scale of that mess, you can see the staircase on the bottom of the screen. 2, there are no lyrium arteries present in this shot. Yes, the object is pulsating, but the object lacks lyrium arteries and is likely outside in the physical world. It's too exposed, and Titans don't sleep above ground. Finally, though it may be a little bit silly, I don't think this is a Titan heart because there's fungi growing at the bottom of the mass. Hi, it's Ash from the editing process. I can't talk too loud because it's 4:36 a.m. right now, but towards the end of the editing this video I realized there's some correlation between the imagery of the original trailer and the new teases. My stretch prediction is that the red lyrium idol is actually the beating flesh in the third scene of this reveal. Okay, back to the video. Because of the corruption tumors from the second scene, I'm more inclined to believe that this is also a corruption tumor of a larger scale infected with red lyrium. When I look into this pulsating lava-looking sac, what I see is something silently growing, something waiting to be released into the world, and what comes out isn't anything that Thetis is prepared for, not by a long shot. It stayed on the sidelines throughout events of Inquisition, but I believe that the blight disease is back in a new form thanks to the spread of red lyrium. All thanks to the events of Dragon Age Inquisition. The blight only affects living things, but it's as if the physical corruption is acting as a vehicle for red lyrium to accelerate its spread on the surface. The source of this corruption is the real question. Is it purely because of the spread of red lyrium through Corypheus' efforts? Or is it someone taking matters into their own hands? My thoughts lie in the charred, root-like corruption itself. It's spreading its roots throughout the physical world in a remote location that looks as if it can bloom undisturbed. The roots themselves can be also a product created by a third party, as we know plant magic is possible thanks to 2 different mages in previous Dragon Age titles, Villana in Awakening and Francesca in Vitus from Blue Wraith. Though the knowledge of it is rare, the magic does exist if we are able to believe that these roots come from unnatural causes. Now, why is that all bad? Sure, the Darkspawn blight makes you mad, but even worse, it makes you controllable. We saw Corypheus easily take control of the Grey Wardens through harnessing the blight. We also saw the Architect remove the indoctrinating song from the Darkspawn in Awakening. Those who hold the keys to the Darkspawn taint, such as the Magisters of Corypheus and the Architect, can gather and control countless armies. And as we've seen lately in the Horrors of Hormak and the Well of Sorrows, the Blight isn't the only method of control yet to threaten Thetis. All in all, the next Dragon Age game already looks to be a darker, more fearsome game, perhaps closer to the same fun dread we all experienced in Dragon Age Origins. Then again, this is an extremely early look at the game, showing off Dragon Age made for next-gen platforms. All this could mean very little in the grand scheme of things, in Solas' grand scheme. But for now, we got ourselves a tree. Thank you for watching. I'm really happy to be back with Dragon Age, even if it's only for a little while. From this point forward, I'll be dropping here and there to bother you with more games, more crackpot theories, whatever I feel like. You can also join the Discord, as I'll be updating when I have new videos and streams coming. Links are all in the description. Take care, I'll see you next time, and Fen Haral and Ansal.